All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Tuesday, February 13th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Happy pre-Valentine's Day, everybody. We're here a day early with a box of chocolates and a bouquet of flowers for all of our listeners because Clayton, the movies are opening on Wednesday this week. They are going for a wide berth with these two movies this weekend. So this is a 5-day, 6-day weekend, right? A Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then next Monday is President's Day. Long weekends to try and just. I'll throw this out, Clayton. With Madam Web and with Bob Marley, One Love, it feels like the studios are trying to do a little bit of tenant math. Now, if you're a longtime listener to the show, you remember in what was that, August 2020, September 2020, whenever it was that Tenet opened up, they tried to do some funky math from the studios, basically roll 2 weeks into a weekend and foreign countries into the domestic. And we all broke it down on a classic episode back in the opening weekend of Tenet. We set it all straight,
We
but
were the first to do it.
we were the first to do it.
I remember
And
Deep
let's,
Popcorn said, you guys were right.
yep. Deep Popcorn, the insider in the business, Hollywood insider, he knew that we came up with the correct number, cut through the BS that Warner Brothers put out with that Tenet opening weekend. And I mean, this isn't. I don't think what the studios are doing this weekend is as shady as what Tenet did, but I think they are just trying to get as high of a number reported as possible because there is a good chance all the numbers are going to be disappointing for these two movies. So that's what we got ahead of us. This is the weekend preview for the movies opening on Wednesday, Valentine's Day, February 14th. So which one do you want to talk about first? You got Bob Marley, One Love. You got Madam Web.
Wow, it's like Sophie's Choice.
She had a pick. She couldn't say neither. The guy was like, you got to pick. And Clayton, that's what I'm telling you. You got to pick. You can't say neither, because if you say neither, then I'll make you, I guess,
Both.
keep both of them. Yeah.
Then we have to talk about both at the same time.
Right.
Let's not have that. That's bad radio. Let's do Bob Marley.
Okay. I feel like in BOHQ, when me and you have talked about this in passing, I'm a lot higher on this than you are.
Yeah.
I mean, for weeks and weeks and weeks, I've been saying this would be the one that would be bigger
of the two, Madam Web and,
of the two,
and Bob Marley.
and I feel like you pushed back. Where are you at now on this movie?
I'm still pushing back. I'm still pushing back because two words.
Okay.
Sydney Sweeney. Bob Marley has no stars.
Wow.
Just the IP, which is Bob Marley, which is a question mark. I mean, we talked about this with the great Rob from
Rob Harvilla from
Rob
60
Harvilla
Songs
from
That Explain the
60
90s.
Songs.
Yep.
And, you know, he was on my side. He thinks this is not going to be anything big. And I think that the idea of Sydney Sweeney on the big screen again, possibly in a Spider-Woman costume. Now, I know superheroes are on the wane, but still, there's something there.
There's been no teasing of that. There's been, you look at these ads.
There is teasing of
I
that.
haven't seen her in latex. I haven't seen Sydney Sweeney in latex.
Well, then, you know, here's what I've realized, Pat.
Okay.
I am the only person in the world, who pays attention to trailers. Because if you pay attention to the trailer, you will see there is a shot of her in spandex. It is very quick, but it's very
quick.
That's the same way. Shut up.
No,
the same way.
There's no shut up. No shut up. No shut up.
Shut up. The same way.
You're talking about a frame. If you're telling me Sydney Sweeney in spandex is selling me on Madam Web, you start the movie, you start the trailer that way. Don't make it an Easter egg. Don't make her in spandex an Easter egg.
There's only been one trailer for this. So
that's
it's
not
one
good.
terrible trailer.
That's not good.
Just like I saw
No
in the
shut-up.
trailer for Mean Girls, the only person in the world who saw the trailer for Mean Girls and knew that it was a musical because there were several dance numbers in it and people mouthing words to songs. I use my context clues. I pay attention. I feel like everybody else in the planet must just be in danger of getting hit by cars constantly because they're not paying attention. I pay attention to trailers. I paid attention. There is a split-second shot of Sweeney in a Spider-Woman costume.
Great. That's not marketing though. That's not helping the box office. You're comparing, okay, you're comparing the way Sydney Sweeney in this trailer is shown in latex and spandex. You're comparing that to the way Mean Girls hid that it was a musical. So right there, you're
One is a
making my
te-
point
no,
for me
one
because
is a tease.
they're hiding that
Mm-mm.
Sydney Sweeney is going to be in a superhero costume.
One is a
So that's
tease.
bad marketing.
One is a
A
tease.
tease,
One is hiding.
that's
One
not
is
a tease.
teasing. It is
Tease,
teasing. This is
they're
teasing. That was
they're
hiding.
not teasing
Thank
the
you.
audience. This is hiding. This is hiding.
No,
It's not teasing.
teasing.
Teasing would be is if you show it and then you say, wait until the full movie to get all of it. Teasing is Danica Patrick's Super Bowl
Well, I knew
commercial.
exactly where you were going there. You gotta
That's
go to
teasing. That's
GoDaddy.com
teasing.
to watch the rest of it. Yeah.
Yes. GoDaddy.com, Danica Patrick, classic commercials during the big game. Sorry, I said the trademark phrase. I think we get one of those every season, so that was it. But the big game, Danica Patrick, GoDaddy commercials, that is teasing. Sydney Sweeney in a superhero costume for a flickering frame in these trailers that only a crazy person could possibly notice. That's not marketing. That's not teasing. That's not helping the box office here. Why hide that?
The it's I don't I'm not in charge of the marketing, Pat. All I can tell
No, I
you is
know
what
that.
I
I'm not
saw,
blaming
and I
you.
saw it. So, the fact that I saw it and you didn't see it, I'm assuming since you didn't know that Mean Girls was gonna be a musical, I knew it first. I knew it immediately.
But they didn't want people to know. That's the whole
Okay.
point. Sony
Yeah,
should want people to know if Sydney Sweeney will be in a superhero costume.
okay. I agree. I agree, but the main crux of the argument is that I pay attention and you don't.
No, that's not the argument. The
That is the
argument is
argument.
marketing for that aspect of this movie. If they wanted that to help the box office the way you think it would, people should be hit over the head with that. It shouldn't be hidden. It shouldn't be something that only a Dan Brown protagonist would be able to figure out. It should be a thing that is upfront. Sydney Sweeney's a superhero in this movie, and she's going to be wearing superhero clothes. That would actually get people to go. The way
But
they're
that
marketing that aspect now, it's not going to help this movie at all. It's
I
not going to
think
help it at all.
I think that yes, this has been one of the worst marketing for a movie I've seen in a long time because that
Yeah.
trailer is nonsensical. We've said it multiple times. It
Yes.
doesn't explain who the guy in the Spider-Man costume is. It
Why
doesn't
is he in
say
a
he's
black
not Spider-Man.
Spider-Man
Why is he in a
costume?
black Spider-Man costume? Why is he not Venom? Because that's a black Spider-Man costume.
Yeah.
There are split-second shots of all of the young ladies in Spider-Woman costumes. Those are all in the trailer if you pay attention, which you don't. I don't know if
Why
you're
are
on your
they
phone.
split second? Why are they split second,
It's
Clayton?
because they're teasing, and I
That's
don't.
not teasing, that's hiding. I think what's happening here is that this studio is really trying to hide that this is a superhero movie and that it's a all girls superhero movie, which
Okay,
for
now
what
that
I think that's happening. I think that's happening, and I don't. Then I'm sort of like, what do you got if it's not that? But I think
that
that's happening. I think this is a post the Marvels. We can't say that this is Sydney Sweeney's a superhero movie because the guys are going to hate that.
now,
I
Pat,
think that's what's happening. I don't think that's a good idea, but I do think that's what's happening here.
that is a great theory, and I believe that that is what is happening here
Mhm.
because, like you said, the Marvels did not do well. And they are trying to make this more of a serious, gritty sort of I mean, when you look at the Craven trailer, which of course that got pushed way back, they
Mhm.
were not promoting that as a superhero movie. That
Right.
is a gory action thriller.
Right.
And so they are trying to move these genres around. I mean, this is I know somebody mentioned oh, it was great Scott Mendelson mentioned butterfly effect. They're
Mhm.
trying to make this into this is a butterfly effect within a superhero universe. That's what they're trying to do. And yes, by teasing the fact that these young ladies are going to be in
Hiding.
spandex
Hiding. Hiding.
in spandex, they are doing a bad job. But at the end of the day, I will say the mere tease of Sydney
Hiding.
Sweeney
Hiding it, not a
dressed like
tease.
Spider-Woman is going to propel this
Danica Patrick's a
movie
tease.
above Bob Marley. That is the argument.
That
That is my argument, is that the idea that she is dressed in spandex is going to, at this point, propel this movie over that movie.
I
That's all I'm saying. I'm not getting into the marketing, although we do think it's bad, but I'm
but the
saying
marketing is ruining the thing that you think would help, because I agree that would help. If going into this weekend, we were saying it's got Bob Marley, One Love versus the movie where everyone knows Sydney Sweeney is going to be in a spandex latex superhero costume, and everyone knew that, and that was what this movie was about. I would say, yeah, Madam Web is going to be the favorite, but they've hidden that. They didn't get the GoDaddy Danica Patrick marketing team on making that trailer. And if they had, they would have had a tease, because the GoDaddy commercials know how to tease.
yeah.
The Madam Web commercials, they hide. And that's what they've done.
I still disagree, but I also wanna make a comment here that, yes, this conversation is puerile because we are talking about a young lady in spandex.
Yes,
But
but
and I
only in terms of marketing and box
marketing.
office.
And the facts are that there's a certain segment of the population
Mhm.
where that is an inducement. I'm
Yes,
not
yes,
saying it's us. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying this is the world we live in. So, we have to discuss these sort of things. And I
right,
think
right,
that it might come off puerile. It might come off as something that is, not 2024, but it is. It's still it's still a thing.
right.
And so
This day and age, we still have to every once in a while bring the GoDaddy big game commercials into a conversation.
absolutely, because that was about titillation.
Right.
And there's a level of wanting to be titillated at the theaters, and I think that's actually good because we're seeing that there's a turnaround now where, you know, these Marvel movies, not the Sony ones, but the other Marvel movies, completely sexless, and, there is a move more towards titillation. Of course, the 4 minutes of added hardcore pornography in
Anyone but you.
Anyone But
Yeah.
You. I mean, that's a movement in the right direction, I believe. So yes. At the end of the day, I'm answering your question in a very long-winded manner. 12 minutes
Mhm.
later,
Yeah.
yes, this movie's gonna do better, Madam Web, than the Bob
Bob
Marley movie.
Marley, One Love. I
Now give
disagree.
me your argument for Bob Marley and One Love.
So my argument is that it is a bigger IP. Bob Marley is a bigger IP that I think this coming weekend has more goodwill amongst audiences than Madam Web does. If you just compare them as what is a thing that people recognize, what is a thing that people have an affection for, what is a thing people have an interest in, the Bob Marley IP is bigger than whatever this Madam Web, this completely unclear Madam Web IP is. And listen, we've seen obviously different results from different biopics over the years. I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston did not do well. But
Mm-mm.
as a genre, listen, and musical biopics, of course, have been made fun of, and there's cliches and all that, but it's not a hated genre the way that superhero movies right now are a hated genre. Obviously, there's exceptions, and We'll get into it with an email we got later. It's going to be a wild one when we read this email about superhero movies. But superhero movies are on the wane. They are being derided right now, and I don't think musical biopics are that on the surface. You might have a Whitney Houston movie that people just don't have an interest in. They don't like that way that movie, they know it's going to end, but it's not a genre that people are disgusted by the way they're disgusted by superhero movies. So I think you got a bigger IP in Bob Marley, and you got a genre that is not the thing that people think is uncool. And
Here's
none of these stars matter because I think Sydney Sweeney is being hidden. She's not being used well in the marketing of this movie. She's in it, but she's not being put at the center of this. And I think Dakota Johnson is just a big nothing in terms of getting people to go to the movies. I know she was in the 50 Shades movies that all were huge hits, but uh,
those are big
I I
films.
I think it's besides the point that she was in those. I don't think she gets much from those, and I think her as the center of a movie like this is about as a nothing as it's going to get. So it doesn't matter that the Bob Marley movie doesn't have a big star playing Bob Marley, because I don't think Dakota Johnson really matters in getting a single person to a theater this weekend.
The question is Bob Marley a big enough IP to make people go to the theater? And here's where Bob Marley, One Love, or One Love Bob Marley, whichever one it lands on and ends up being. The thing that could put this over is moviegoers who are walk-ups,
Yes.
who are not completely obsessed with movies. They're not the people who buy tickets beforehand, week ahead of time, any of that stuff. They don't go on film Twitter. They don't have a letterboxed.
Mhm.
These sort of people who I like Bob Marley. I want to see this movie. It's as simple as that, right?
Mhm.
Don't have to tweet about it, Twitter X about it. They don't have to do a TikTok about it. They
Mhm.
just walk up to a ticket booth and say, "One for One Love, Bob Marley," or "Bob Marley, One Love." Those are the people that could take this over the Madam
Mhm.
Web, because I don't there's gonna be walk-up business to Madam Web, of course, but the pre-buying of tickets is something that superhero fans do. So, you're gonna get a good idea of who's actually gonna go see that movie and less of a good idea of who's actually gonna go see Bob Marley. I think the walk-ups is what's gonna make the difference here. So, are these general public walk-ups into Bob Marley? That is the real question, and that is gonna make the difference.
I think definitely more so than they're gonna be into the poorly reviewed joke of a new superhero movie with a character that no one has ever heard of before. In
Mhm.
general life, I'm sure there are people who've been waiting their whole life for there to be a Madam Web movie, I'm sure, but that's a very small audience. This is Valentine's weekend, Clayton.
Mhm.
Valentine's falls on a Wednesday, but I think couples are gonna be doing Valentine's-y stuff in the days after. Which of these movies, if either, gets any bump or seems like the first choice of just couples going to a movie?
That's a very interesting question because I sort of think neither. It's
But one
such
of them
a
would be one of them would be the, more of a choice over the other, I guess, amongst
but it
couples
would
who are
be
going on dates
so
this week.
close to me. I think, you know, Bob Marley maybe because there's at least songs that people might know.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, I think that's the thing, but I also don't think that there's gonna be a lot of dates going to these movies. I think they did a really bad job of putting out anything for Valentine's Day right now. I think Anyone But You, obviously, with the extra 4 minutes of Spice Channel level pornography is going
Right.
to be some sort of inducement, and, I think that's gonna get a nice bump. But it's not gonna be the number 1 movie, and it's not gonna be a big enough bump to really move the meter. So, God, I mean, if you okay, you have a wife,
I do. I have my wife, yes.
and if you weren't doing something else, I don't
Right.
know what you're doing, but if you didn't have other plans and
Mhm.
we must see a new release.
Yes.
You sit her down and you say, "We must do this."
We must do this. Or she sits me down and says, "We must do this." Who
Well, we know
knows?
how it actually would work, but,
Right. Well,
especially
there
when it
would be a
comes to
third
movies,
party who sits us both down and says, "You guys must do
we
this."
must do
That's
this.
yeah.
So, which one would you guys fall on? Which one would be the decision? You have to do either Bob Marley, you have to do Madam Web. You must.
We must. It's a no-brainer that we would end up seeing the Bob Marley movie, and here's why. Listen, my wife has never been a superhero person. We just
Person.
doesn't care person. She doesn't care, but there was a time even with her in which that was a viable option. We saw Captain Marvel in theaters together. We saw like
Mhm.
a Spider-Man movie in theaters together. There was a point where that genre was so at the top of pop culture where it was a thing I could say to her and she wouldn't look down upon me. And
Yeah.
she'd feel like, "You know what? People are doing this, I'll go." That time has passed. And I do think amongst those 2 options, where let's assume even both people in the relationship kind of know these both are gonna be bad. They're both getting bad reviews. Both of them are gonna be rotten on the tomato meter, all that. The s saying, "Let's go see a non-Batman, non-Joker, non-Spider-Man superhero movie right now," is an embarrassing thing to say. Embarrassing. In a way that, let's just go see the Bob Marley movie, and maybe it's a bad Bob Marley movie. It's not an embarrassing suggestion,
Mhm.
and I do think that's gonna play a lot into friends suggesting it to see it with their other friend, but people suggesting it to a romantic partner. I do think "Let's go see Madam Web" is just an embarrassing thing to come out of someone's mouth to say to someone who they want to be intimate with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point because you are happily married and you've been for a long
A
time,
long time.
and I still think you saying, "Let's see Madam Web," and sticking to it
Mhm.
would create a
Yes.
fissure
Yep.
in your marriage. Not a
Yes.
big one and not
No.
a dangerous one,
N
but a small one, and that is with a very strong marriage.
Yes,
So, if
very
you're
strong.
somebody who's dating somebody for a few months
Yeah.
and you say Madam Web,
Yeah.
that becomes a red flag.
Yes.
If it's a
First
few weeks,
Valentine's. Imagine this is their first Valentine's as a couple,
you can't.
a and you're saying, "Let's go see Madam Web." It's not a
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie, it kind of is. Do you remember Venom? Okay, well, it's in that universe. Imagine saying, "Let's go see Madam Web." It's in the Venom universe.
Mhm. It's in the Sony Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess, I'll say something, Pat, because I was
Okay.
thinking about this. Brett, who we just had on last episode, he had mentioned lashings. We had talked about lashings for getting things wrong and
Right.
only big things where we really stick our neck out and
Yeah.
we really have a big difference in opinion. And we thought lashings, that's hard to do. It's hard to
Right.
lash yourself.
Right.
And then we said, let's do some shock collars. Let's do the shock collar
Yeah.
thing. And we're still working on that.
Yeah, we haven't bought a shot collar yet.
Yes, yet.
Yet.
So the thing with that is, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, would I would I put on the shock collar for Madam Web?
Mhm.
Would I sit here and literally stick my neck out to be shocked to say I think Madam Web is going to make more than Bob Marley, One Love or One Love Bob Marley? And I'm starting to think that I wouldn't.
Mhm.
And so you're kind of convincing me here
Mhm.
that Madam Web is not gonna do better than that Bob Marley movie.
Mhm. And the thing with the Bob Marley movie is I think it's got a good first weekend in it. And sure, it could fall off a cliff after that, but I just think it is an IP. There hasn't been this is not a big star playing Bob Marley, but there's never been that I can remember a big attempt at a Bob Marley biopic. This is the one.
Mhm.
So I think there is just a big enough audience, a pent up, not demand, but a semi interest in the IP. And like you said, everyone knows the songs. This isn't the Beatles, but it's a catalog of songs that people know. Like we've said before, everyone's got the poster in their dorm room. Um, I just think the IP is so much stronger, and I think there's a big first weekend in it.
And we were surprised by, Bohemian Rhapsody when that was as big as it was. I mean, it
Right.
did.
Rocket Man did well. Rocket Man made 25 million
But,
his first weekend.
I do think Elton John
Yeah,
is at a different level, just because he has been alive for so long.
he's been alive longer. Yeah.
Now, to go from me saying Madam Web's gonna beat this movie to I'm just gonna posit something here.
Mhm.
Is there any possibility that
Wow.
this is a huge hit at the level of Straight Outta Compton? Not necessarily for the long haul, because that one made, what, 160 or something domestically,
Yeah.
which is bonkers, truly bonkers, and it opened to 60, but that was shocking at the time.
Mhm.
That was shocking at the time.
Yep.
Is it possible that I'm just really sleeping on Bob Marley and those walk-up crowds and the people who don't normally go see movies saying, "Finally, this icon is getting their movie." Is
I
it possible, or do you think that is just out of the realm of possibility? That's
I
even
don't
possible.
think 60's at play. I don't think Straight
Yeah,
Outta Compton
I think maybe
60.
is like
No.
40 a number?
So, okay,
For the weekend, because we're doing, it's 6 days,
well,
so, like, maybe it could reach 30 something, and it's gonna probably do that in 6 days, but I'm talking big weekend.
it's hard to I almost think we do have to predict the 5-day because the big numbers are gonna be in that Wednesday and Thursday, but maybe for these movies. So, I think we gotta look at, like, the Wednesday through Sunday, whatever that 5-day is, and I do think the Bob Marley movie gets over 40 for that. I do.
That's
And at the
perfectly
same
reasonable.
and I at the same time, I think the 5-day for Madam Web could be under 20. That's kind of how low I could see this
Wow,
going.
so, like, 19.
Yeah, I my big thought is they have been so unclear on any hooks for this Madam Web movie, and they haven't taken advantage of the fact that Sydney Sweeney is legitimately popular and Sydney Sweeney is legitimately hot at the box office coming after Anyone But You. She's done web interviews and she ate the wings and she mentions Madam Web, but the promotion, the trailer has so sidelined her that I don't think you really get anything out of having her in this movie. And so at that level, it's Blue Beetle. It's just D level, you know, worst case scenario, who cares superhero stuff. And I think 5-day, this movie could do like 18, 19 million. I
Wow.
think Bob Marley could do 40. So to me, it's
Okay,
not really a competition between who's going to be number one between those two.
so you think Madam Web could do half?
Yes.
Half of what Marley does?
Yes, I do. I
Okay.
do. I just don't see what Madam Web has going for it right now.
Alright, so do we want to wait and give our predictions
Yep.
to the end of the show
Yep.
and do some mail?
Yes.
Because we were teasing mail last episode,
Mhm.
and unlike, Madam Web, which I say is teasing, you say is
Mhm.
hiding. We were teasing. We
We were
can agree
teasing.
we were teasing the mail.
Yes.
We were not hiding the mail, we were teasing the mail because we've got some mail.
We got some mail. We listen,
We got mail.
we got mail. We learned from the GoDaddy commercials and we know how to tease and we know how to deliver. So let's get to these emails. Clayton, let's build our way up to the one of the best emails we've ever received. I mean, these are all great emails, but there's one we both know that we'll save for a little bit, but
All emails are great.
all emails are great.
All the emails that we get from our wanna be O boys, wanna be O girls, wanna be O people are
People.
great,
Yeah.
but they're not all created equal necessarily. There are some that are greater. There's
Yeah.
great and then there's great.
Yeah. So let's start with a merely great one. So this one is from Wannabe Oh Boy Tim, and the subject is tough on mean girls. And Tim says, didn't know where to use this, but y'all rough. You're turning into wanna be mean girls, wanna be mean boys, wanna be mean people.
People.
That's it. Didn't want that line to go to waste. Trying to be a wannabe oh boy. So Tim says we've been tough on mean girls. I mean, I,
I've been tough on Mean Girls.
you've been tough on mean girls.
I
It did
I'm a wanna
fine.
yeah, I'm a wanna be a mean girl. Wait, what is it? Yeah. Wanna be mean girl? Yeah, I'm a wanna be
Yeah.
mean girl.
He said we're wanna be mean girls, wanna be mean boys, wanna be mean people.
People.
We've given this movie some guff. The whole hiding it's a musical and all that, but
I
it's
saw it.
gonna it's gonna make, yeah, right now it's at 69 million domestic and it's 28 million. This movie is gonna make over 100 million worldwide. It
Mhm.
it did fine. It did what it needed to do, and thank God theaters had it in January.
Yeah. And,
So,
Tim says he's trying to be a wannabe oh boy. Guess what, Tim? You are a wannabe oh
yes,
boy.
he's a
There ain't no
wannabe oh boy.
trying. You are, my friend.
Yeah, he is a wannabe oh boy. So, thank you for that email, Tim. Uh, Clayton, do you wanna read one? Do you wanna read this lawyer email that we got, or do you want me to read that one?
Oh, I love this one. Tavion, is that how you would say that?
Tavion, yes.
Yeah, let's do it. Tavion.
Wanna be oh boy Tavion, yep.
Who can play a lawyer?
Tavon. That's the
Tavon.
what's
Here we go.
yeah,
Tavon.
yeah.
My apologies. Who can play a lawyer successfully? Jodie Comer. Comer, right?
Comer.
And Comer needs to be included in that discussion.
Mm,
Okay. So here we go. Hi, Pat. Hi, Clayton. Long time, first time. Love the discussion with the great Scott Mendelson about which young stars can play a lawyer, but I feel you missed an important one who can play a lawyer. Jodie Comer.
Comer.
Jesus. She is the dream actor and the star that any major studio could want. She is a Gen Z icon with a rabid fan base thanks to her iconic breakout role in the television series Killing Eve. She's won Tony Awards for one woman play. Oh, that's the one where she plays a bunch of different people. I remember that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Prima Facie, something. I can't read. Uh, if you put the potential lawyers, Butler, Chalamet, Powell, Sweeney, Zendaya, discussed in a live stage recording, would their name alone make 10 million in ticket sales in Europe, which is, I guess, what this show did. So she's a big draw on the stage. Now, this seems to be a UK person's thought on this. And they say also bike riders will be a big breakout for her. What is your thought here, Pat,
Okay,
about
what is my thought on Jodie Comer?
that is
Uh,
somebody who, because I mean,
can I read the portion of his email that I think is we should get
or no, go
directly?
for it. Yeah.
So he says, as a wannabe oh boy based in the UK who saw both Free Guy and The Last Duel in theaters, my own from the stacks reporting and listening to the conversations by casuals, she was the sole reason they went to see both films. Yes, even over Ryan Reynolds, Ben and Matt, and Adam Driver combined. In both films, she was the sole enjoyment they got out of them. And then, yeah, he says we should be keeping an eye to see if the Bike Riders breaks out this summer, especially internationally, because if it does, she should be considered to get a sizable chunk of dividends over her male co-stars due to her more recognizable name and proven track record. If she doesn't, she's exactly like type of British performer whose career will destined to be at worst the fifth build value add in a film, but it could still get the funding due to their overseas popularity, similar to Ewan McGregor and Dame Judy Dench. So, yeah, I mean, what this wannabe foreign wannabe oh boy, overseas wannabe oh boy,
Yeah, overseas is
Tavon,
probably better.
yeah, well, I mean, he's from the UK, and
Yeah.
Tavon is saying that Jodie Comer is a draw overseas. That's interesting. Um,
But we
And it's a
talk domestic. We do talk domestic, just to
we
be
do
clear.
we do talk domestic here, but that is an interesting point that, there are actors like a Ewan McGregor who probably get stuff greenlit because there's a guaranteed chunk of money that you'll make internationally due to their popularity. I don't know if Jodie Comer is there because I don't think you could credit the Free Guy's success to her internationally.
And I'll tell you why Ewan McGregor is still so popular overseas is Star Wars.
Is Star Wars. Yeah.
That is the reason. So she does not have a Star Wars.
Yeah.
She is not in Star Wars. She does not have a Star Wars. I will agree with the fact that I think that she would be amazing as a lawyer.
Yes.
Purely in the talent and the poise. Out of all of the people we've mentioned, I will say that
Mhm.
she probably would play a lawyer the best.
Yeah.
But does that mean that people would line up to see her over Zendaya as a lawyer?
N
I
no.
disagree with it.
No, but I think Jodie Comer is someone we both agree has the talent if she keeps getting movies that get her more seen and
Mhm.
get her more awareness, she easily could be in that group. She's sort of like you talk about the 5-2 player in baseball, the prospect that could throw, that
Oh,
could run,
I
that
shook
could
my
hit
head
for
like I knew.
power,
I
hit
don't
for
watch
average.
baseball. It's boring.
Yeah, 5-tool players. That's a prospect comes up and they got the 5 tools. I think Jodie Comer's got the 5 tools, but she has to deliver the stats in the major leagues, and she hasn't done that. Though here's an interesting thing. I'm looking at the box office performance of The Last Duel. It
Mhm.
made $10 million domestically. Clayton, do you want to know what it made internationally?
I'd love to.
19 million. So that's a movie that made
Double.
almost twice as much internationally as it did in North America. So there's something to that emailer's theory. She is got some drawing power outside the States, probably mainly in the UK.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think to say that she would get paid more than someone like even Glenn Powell at this point is not true. That doesn't mean that talent-wise she doesn't deserve. I mean, everybody deserves equal pay, obviously. But when we're
Right.
talking the economics of Hollywood, I don't think that she would make more money than even an Austin Butler at this point.
Right. Or I mean a Sydney
If it's a
Sweeney.
yeah, if it's an American production, that's the thing. If it's an American production.
Yeah. I think something like Free Guy is her biggest hit, but unlike in Anyone But You, that movie isn't a people came necessarily to see the stars just hang out. That was still special effects comedy. So the amount of credit you get off of that movie is still not as high as, yeah, if she does have an Anyone But You, a movie where it's just about seeing her hang out with someone and that does well, then yeah, she'll put herself in that position. Great email. Thank you for that email. Clayton, let's talk about someone getting out of a cult. Do you want me to read an email about someone who escaped a cult?
Wow.
So this email comes from wannabe oh boy Max.
Max, hello, Max.
Subject all caps. I escaped a cult. 4 exclamation points. This is serious. Hello, BO boys. My name is Max, and I wanted to write in and get extremely personal this week. I was born into the cult of Pixar in my childhood. Please remember that 1995 to 2005 were my formative years. Pixar was viewed very differently back then. I spent time in my youth watching the DVD making of special features for every Pixar film and was drawn in by the charismatic leader, similar to Jim Jones, John Lasseter. I'm not proud of this, but I would monitor the Pixar Planet website for any news updates following any and all projects associated with the brand. Around 2011, I had a crisis of faith around the release of Cars 2, which led me to ultimately escape the clutches of this cult, and I emerge a much stronger person today. This behavior is inexcusable for adults today, and the fact that audiences today would rather watch The Zone of Interest than any of the 3 Pixar releases is very telling for the current state of this brand. Thank you from wannabe oh boy Max. He escapes a cult, the cult of Pixar. Clayton, I mean, what do you think about that? It's a deeply personal email.
It's heartbreaking,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's also important, and I think it gives people hope because Max got out at Cars 2
Mm-hmm.
so early,
Yeah.
and I think that you can still get out.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you didn't get out early, just because you've been with this company and been indoctrinated your whole entire life into your adulthood. So it sounds like Max got out while he was still young.
Mm-hmm.
It is never too late to get out. You do not have to see Inside Out 2. You do not have to see that. If you don't want to, if you want out, don't see Inside Out 2. You don't have to. Of
Yeah. Now, if you're a child, go see Inside Out too. I think
course.
the problem is, or if you're a parent of a child, you
If you're a
take your
guardian or a parent, yeah, parent or
your
guardian.
guardian. But the Pixar adult thing, that is where the danger of the cult comes in.
Mhm.
And I can't say I fear it because of course we do want people to buy movie tickets and go to the movie. So in some ways this is a cult that we're not part of, we're not leaders of, but we sort of root for. It's weird to say we root for a cult, but do you want the cult of Pixar to go away? I don't think theaters do. It's a cult that you kind of have to do some business with, even if we do root when a good person like Max escapes it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the problem is that we that it is a cult in the sense of the numbers are dwindling, but the people inside it are becoming more slavish
And more
and they're
radical, yeah.
and more radical, and they're turning regular general movie goers out. They're pushing them out. That's the
Right,
problem, is that the
right.
more they try to hold on to this and make this the center of their lives, it becomes pungent to general audiences where you did have the cult, but people would go and sit next to the cult members, and the cult members seemed nice and
Right.
fun and into the same thing they were, but the
They're
people
just an
who
adult going to see Monsters University,
yeah,
and
and the
okay,
people
it's weird, but they're not bothering me. Yeah.
yeah, and the people who walked, out of that movie and then forgot about it until the next Pixar movie didn't see the cult. But
Right.
now you see the cult because they're the people that are shaking people in the lobbies of theaters and being like, "Did you know? Did you know that Soul is getting re-released? Do you know
Right.
Luca's coming back to theaters?" Like shaking strangers.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is that is a cult member. That is
Yeah.
somebody who's been indoctrinated.
Yeah.
And so that is the problem now, is that it's dwindling into these radicalized members.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, I mean, I think you can't make Pixar your personality. You can't be the person that we got a horrible email, not it's a great email, but about a horrible thing where a gentleman had to defend his wife from a Pixar pervert.
Mhm.
That was a great email, and
Mhm.
those are the kind of people that are making Pixar fail, is the people
Right.
who are becoming toxic about it.
Right, right. It's interesting that Max did mention the cult leader John Lasseter, who is no longer the leader of Pixar, and I think that's part of why this cult has been losing popularity, and people have been able to escape,
Mhm.
which is good. Which is good. I don't know if Max is able to escape if John Lasseter was still in charge of the cult. Maybe he would still be stuck in there. So, yeah, this is in the end a hopeful email. And like Max said, it's not about people escaping the cult and never going back to the movie theaters. It's about they could escape the cult and they could go see a zone of interest and a poor things. And they don't have to be adults who only think that Pixar movies are the only, quality films that are out there.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
congratulations, Max. And hope you enjoy Zone of Interest.
Yeah. Stay strong, Max. Stay
So,
strong.
yeah. Um, let's take a look at this email from an OG. Do you want to hear from an OG, Clayton?
Oh, do I know who this is? Is it Adam from the Stacks.
Adam from the
Adam
Stack.
from the Stacks. Yeah.
So sent us a 3-part email. I love
Of
when
course.
Adam sends us a multi-part with
PS,
PSs,
PP,
PPSs.
PSS. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
'Cause he's
great.
just he's always thinking, and he hits send, and then something hits him, and he's like, I gotta add this on. It's always great. So here is I'm just gonna read all of Adam's emails. Subject Super Bowl Monkey Man. BO boys, the real Super Bowl story is Monkey Man. No one could have predicted such an exciting end to the Super Bowl. In most cases, people would have tuned out of the big game by 10:20 p.m., but instead everyone saw the Monkey Man preview. This is great. P.S. Assuming Monkey Man had a production budget of 30 million and considering that 30 seconds of Super Bowl ad time cost 7 million, this single spot cost almost a third of the film's budget. Universal obviously believes in this film, likely because of the awesome response from the YouTube trailer, but because the Super Bowl was so exciting at around 10:20 p.m. Eastern, this 30-second slot was probably worth much, much more than 7 million. The stars are aligning for Monkey Man. Final PS. If Universal and Monkey Paw wants to really amp this thing up, they should quickly organize and film an extra 10 to 20 minutes of extremely high budget sequences to cut into the film, possibly featuring some celeb cameo parts. The sizzle reel needs to be beefed up, and they still have a month and a half before release. 3-part email from Adam in the Stacks, every part spectacular. OG wannabe, oh boy. He is so high on Monkey Man. He is the one who emailed us probably a month ago about how many views the YouTube trailer got in its first few days.
Mhm.
Um, this does feel like a movie that people are legitimately excited about. And we didn't talk Monkey Man at all on our post big game trailer talk with Brett on the last episode. But yeah, Adam's right. The commercial for Monkey Man did air towards the end of the big game, and the big game had an exciting close finish. So it held audiences. So probably cost them a little less, and more people saw it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that is one of the benefits of when you have a scripted sports event like the big game,
Okay.
where the climax is intended to be exciting to induce people to watch the commercials.
Mhm.
It is lucky that this commercial came at that moment, right? Where the NFL decides, let's do overtime. That would be a great angle. Let's do that. And so I do think that, yeah, they probably paid less than this spot was worth for sure. And I have been hearing more about Monkey Man than I've been even hearing about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the release schedule. Monkey Man comes out April 5th. It's same weekend as the first Omen, which I did see a trailer for that at a movie recently.
That's a great trailer.
It is a great trailer.
But I
Those
think it's gonna be a bad movie, but it's a great trailer.
it's a great trailer, and I don't know if the dislike of the last Exorcist movie is somehow going to, I know they're not the same franchise, but I do think they get associated a bit. So I wonder if the Exorcist believer negativity is going to make people be like, how do I see
No,
another
The
one of these
Omen is
movies?
different. I mean, they're both blockbuster novels that get turned into movies, but I don't think people make that
Okay.
association. I don't make that association. But, so they're same release date for
Same
those.
release. It's Friday, April 5th is both of those movies. They come out the week after Godzilla X Kong New Empire comes out. So there'll be a big movie that just opened the week before, but
Is Monkey Omen a thing?
Monkey Omen. I mean, Monkey Omen sounds like it's a thing.
It's something.
Yeah. Monkey Omen. God, it could end up being a thing. Monkey X Omen coming the week after
Uh,
Godzilla X Kong. Yeah, Monkey Omen. Monkey
I don't
Omen
think you
is
have to add the X.
yeah. Yeah.
Monkey Omen.
Um, Listen, we'll talk more about it as we get closer. It's really hard to gauge with the tracking for that. There's no tracking on it, and it's a movie that's hard to comp. I mean, Monkey Man almost feels to me like original John Wick situation. Obviously, it's
Mhm.
been called, a version of John Wick, but a movie that could open in the teens and hold really well and then spawn 5 movies. I don't I see that as a possibility, or maybe it'll open at 40 by the time we get closer to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are seeing more of a want for genuine action that doesn't include superpowers. I mean, we're
Yep.
seeing with the Beekeepers more modest success. Obviously, I think
Yes.
Monkey Man has a way higher ceiling because of the novelty of it. But we are seeing that, and I think this could be one of those watershed moments where, "Oh, yeah, cool. We're getting more ass kickers that, did push-ups and learned how to fight instead of, I don't know, fell into a hole and a bomb dropped on them or got bit by a spider or were born an alien."
Right, right, right. Yeah, I think as we get closer, Monkey Man is going to have a lot of excitement about it. So, thank you, Adam from the Stacks, and thanks for following this story. I mean, I feel like right now, Adam from the Stacks, he's on the Monkey Man beat, and as new information drops, I feel like Adam's going to be the first one on it when there's something new about Monkey Man.
And the thing about Adam is he's early. He's early on things, and of course, I'm
Yes,
not equivocating these movies, but he was the Sound of Freedom guy. He broke Sound of Freedom, really. I
yes,
mean, him sending an email to us
yep.
saying, "This is a big thing," and then we started talking about it early, and that is because of Adam.
Hmm.
So when Adam fixates on something, and I say that in a positive way,
Yeah,
because all geniuses fixate. He's fixated on Monkey Man right now, and I think that's a good sign for
yeah.
Monkey Man.
Yeah, Adam's got a track record, and if Monkey Man is this year's Sound of Freedom, man, good for Monkey Man.
If it's Sound of Freedom without the scam, that would be amazing.
Yeah, and if it's Sound of Freedom with the scam, then probably even better.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right,
monkey
Clayton,
scam.
here's an email. We have so many amazing emails. Here's an email from Miss Rory. That is how she signed off, Miss Rory. So, subject is Wicked and Disney's Panic. Hello, love the show. I was listening to the post bowl episode and wanted to add some thoughts on Moana 2. Didn't realize right away Disney penciling in that cheap quill for Thanksgiving means that there is something else opening wide over the weekend besides the Wicked adaptation. Disney is still smarting over how badly Wish ate dirt over the holidays. The merchandise push for that was the biggest for anything they've ever produced since Frozen 2. And going by any trip to a big box store, there was lots and lots of stuff shelf warming. A friend commented, it's like they have a force field around them. Uh, this is an amazing report here. The Orlando Disney Resort just announced a character meal at a hotel that's going to be themed The Power of a Wish. Yet Asha is not one of the characters who will be appearing. It's Cinderella, Aladdin, Tiana, and Mirabelle from Encanto, which is about miracles, not wishes. Even though there's a meet and greet actress playing her at Epcot. There's no set date for Disney Plus streaming release. They're so desperate to push digital sales and the Blu-ray 4K discs. And what were some of the big reasons? Wish ate dirt, Universal's Trolls Band Together, and Migration, and WB's Wonka. So here comes a Universal produced live action fantasy musical inspired by an extremely well known story, one that Disney's knocked off more than once. Disney can't afford even the possibility that Wicked is the next Wonka. And hey, lots of people were skeptical Wonka could be any good based on the trailers until the 11th hour. Depositing 2 cents, Miss Rory. Wow, Clayton,
Wow.
full on conspiracy theory email, and I love it. So
Wow.
basically, just to sum that up, Miss Rory is theorizing that this Moana 2 cheap quill, which I was you said, it's a compilation of unaired Disney Plus Moana episodes
I am so tickled right now.
being rushed. I knew you would be. I
I'm
knew
so
Miss
I
Rory
love
is
this email so much. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So that she thinks Disney's putting Moana 2 out in November just to sabotage Wicked. Because they look at Wicked as what Wonka did to Wish. And God, the reports on Wish, it's even more dire than we thought, because we
Yeah.
just talk about Wish being a box office bomb, but all of those toys being on the shelves and the fact that there's a Wish themed event at Disney World and they're not even sending the princess from
Oh my
Wish. They're just
gosh.
sending Cinderella. Wish is such a it's an embarrassment to Disney. So here you go. You are our resident conspiracy guy.
Oh,
Eh,
uh-huh.
What do you what how do you grade this conspiracy both in entertainment value but then also in likelihood that it's true?
Okay, so what's the measurement scale for both of those? So, entertainment value, it
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
How
it's
tickled were you?
uh,
How many
100%
feathers?
feathers, okay,
Yeah,
5 out
scale
of
of
5
1 to 10.
feathers.
5 out of 5 feathers.
Yeah,
Tinfoil hats. Uh, the more tinfoil hats, I guess, the more likely it is to be true. How many tinfoil hats do you give this theory?
out of 5?
Yeah.
5. 5.
Wow.
I think this is excellent reporting. I wish that more media outlets did this sort of reporting,
Mhm.
and the use of language is so evocative. I mean,
Yeah.
wish eating dirt. I mean,
Yes.
I love
Miss
that
Rory
so,
loves
so
a
much.
dirt. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it, I love it. Yes, this is somebody that we need to hear more from
Mhm.
because this theory is spot on, and the way it was delivered was exceptional.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanna say, if it's not already evident, I 100% agree with this theory.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's I mean, listen, I think that they're doing this. I mean, we've talked about it. Why make no money off of putting this on a streamer when it said you can make some amount of money putting in the theater? And it'll make a lot of money because the Moana brand is strong, even if this movie's a disaster because it's cobbled together episodes and The Rock doesn't do the voice and they get Richard Kind to play Maui. Like, it'll still make a ton of money because it's Moana. Are they doing it to sabotage Wicked? That is so interesting. When is the last time we could really pinpoint that a studio did something specifically to undercut another studio's movie and IP?
Oh, I mean, here's the
Here's
thing.
it.
I
Mhm.
mean, are you thinking this too? Initially,
Mhm.
the reason why Oppenheimer was going up against Barbie was because Nolan hated Warner Brothers,
Yeah.
right? I
Well,
mean, there was that
I
theory
think it's the
that
other way around, is that Warner
Warner
Brothers was
Brothers was
putting Barbie up
salty.
against Oppenheimer because they hated Nolan, because
Okay.
Nolan did want Barbie to move. So I think the theory is that Warner Brothers originally were doing that as an FU to Nolan,
Mhm.
which I
I
think
mean,
happened. Yeah.
yes, but I don't see this being similar, obviously,
Mhm.
having a similar outcome.
No, because it's the same audience.
Yeah,
The Barbenheimer thing worked because they were getting everyone. I mean,
yeah.
Moana and Wicked together are going after very, very similar audiences.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's the one I can probably think of, most recent and the one that comes to mind, but if anybody has I mean, this is a great topic to email us about, is, like, when did another studio try to sabotage another studio's release that you can think of in not even in the most recent, past, like, anytime you can think of it, please send this to us, email us about this because that's a really interesting topic to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. Revenge for Wish. It's so the thing is, Wonka was Warner Brothers, but everything kicked Wish's ass. So it's like Disney has a vendetta, a Wish vendetta against everyone because the holdovers kick
But I
Wish's
think it's
ass in some ways.
specifically the genre this movie is in.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
it
yeah.
is that it has those elements that Disney wants propriety over.
Yes. Yeah, like she said, like Miss Rory said, Disney has tried to kind of rip off The Wizard of Oz over the years,
Mhm.
and it's been not successful. So they just have a they've got to. an H on for Wizard of Oz.
Mhm.
Very interesting. Great email, Miss Rory. And Moana being used almost as like like a suicide bomber to attack Wicked. What a
On
way to
YouTube,
use.
it's an unalive themselves bomber.
Well, that's TikTok. I think if that's more if Christopher was to
No,
use
it's
this for
YouTube.
YouTube as well. Okay, so there you go. Using Moana as an unalived bomber to attack Wicked. Feel bad. God, now I really do feel bad for Moana. You know, the
Why
sequel.
don't fucking feel bad for
Well,
Moana.
it's a the first movie was a great version of that type of movie, and its sequel is gonna be cobbled together streaming shows that are being used to attack another movie. A movie like Moana should have had a better fate than this for its sequel. It deserved better.
That's your opinion.
Let's go to an email that I'm very excited for you to hear, Clay, because this takes you to task. It takes both of us to task, but mostly you. Um, so this is from wannabe oh boy Mike. You are wrong about Deadpool 3 and Twister. So the subject comes right after us. Uses you. Says you are wrong. So here we go. Mike here, been listening to your podcast for 8 months. Big fan. I disagree with you guys sometimes, but Clayton's comments in the most recent episode were so insane that I felt the need to send an email setting the record straight. So, right off the bat, calling you insane, Clayton. On the subject of superhero movies, Clayton is showing his bias here. Superhero movies in general are not dead. The time of bad superhero movies automatically making Bafa Bobo is dead. Guardians 3, Across the Spider-Verse, best reviewed comic book movies of 2023. Both were hits. Look at Deadpool series, which has never suffered critically or financially, and say that it coming back after 6 years will suddenly cause it to bomb. I think Deadpool having a nice break will have the audience excited to see him again on the big screen. Wasn't constantly in your face, sullied by bad movies. Deadpool and Wolverine delivering on something fans and normies have wanted to see for a while. It's massive fan service with characters the general public knows and likes, not just nerds. Don't forget Wolverine's last film being the mega hit Logan. There's lots of goodwill going to Deadpool 3 that wasn't there for the movies that bombed in 2023. Uh, and then he has something about Twisters. Do you want to just start with the superhero movies, or should we also just give his Twisters take?
How long
Well,
does the Twisters take?
I'm just going to give this Twisters take, and then we'll take it all. So next, no one cares about Twisters. I disagree that the Twisters trailer won the night. There was nothing in the trailer that really sold me on the concept. Twister was already a terrible movie from 28 years ago, held up only by its revolutionary at the time special effects and sound design and the likability of Bill Paxton. Now they're remaking with VFX that doesn't stand out compared to other movies with destruction porn. Much like Independence Day Resurgence, did anyone ask for this movie? There's no one clamoring for another natural disaster movie when blockbusters are destroying cities and planets for 15 years now. I could watch real storm chasers on my phone, and it's more tense than any movie would be because the laws of physics apply in those shows. Seeing a 2-ton truck lifted off the ground, but people are running in the wind, just completely takes me out of the movie. It just reminds me why disaster movies died out to begin with. Uh, anyway, that's all I had to say. Still love you guys, and I'll smell you later. Want to be oh boy, Mike. So much to unpack there.
Let me
Um,
just first off.
yes, you, because he called you insane, so you go
Yeah,
for it.
of course. So I want to applaud Mike
Mm-hmm.
because I can tell that he vehemently disagrees with me. And yet, what a well thought out, measured response.
Mm-hmm.
That's our fans. That's our wanna be boys, wanna be girls, wanna be people.
People.
They come with the facts. They don't just say, "You're stupid and you hurt my feelings.
Yep.
Deadpool rules, Wolverine rules."
Yeah.
No, these are great. I mean, this is a great measured response and there's a lot of great points here.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I will say, about Wolverine and I know this is mixing him with Deadpool. The other two Wolverine movies did I mean, they did well. The first one, Origins, made some money, but it was much maligned. The second one, The Wolverine, sort of just fell off the planet. Nobody thinks about
Mhm.
that movie. It really was Logan that resonated with people, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
people that wished that that was the coda. That was the end, and you never saw him again
Mhm.
because it was such a fitting end to this character that was beloved. Now, Will resuscitating him in an attempt to prop up a dying genre. Will people fall for it? Will the general public fall for it? That is the question. I have faith in the general public and their changing tastes that they won't. And I think that Wolverine, yes, is a value add, absolutely. But is it going to be the big deal that it would have been in 2019 or 2018 or
Mhm.
2020? Now, there's no doubt that this movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, is going to do less than the second Deadpool movie just because it was a completely different time. So I do think it will definitely do less than that. Do you agree with that?
I uh I do. I mean, looking at the Deadpool franchise, we'll just say domestic. Those two movies were very close. The first one did 363, the second one did 324 domestic. So, domestically there was already a little bit of a decline even with a sequel that we would have thought would have been a big breakout sequel, and it did great, but it wasn't an improvement on the first one. Um I do think a little bit of your bias is showing here, the same bias that wannabe oh boy Mike called out, in which you're talking about you have faith in the public, and I think that does show your bias of we always root for box office, but you are kind of rooting for this movie to bomb. You're not just predicting it; you're hoping for it. So there is a little bit of rooting interest in your analysis. Um, I think that when he brings up that, and this is something Scott Mendelson has talked about, that it's not just all superhero movies do well now. You have to be a good superhero movie. And I think beyond that, it's not just you have to be a good one. You have to be a brand name, Joker, Batman, like that type of movie, Guardians, Spider-Man, the ones that people still love and almost separate from superhero movies. And the question is Deadpool going to be that? I think Deadpool 3 tells the story of, is Deadpool a Batman type character, a Guardians type character, a Spider-Man type character where people love the character and they don't even think of it as superhero? Or will it have been a movie that rode the wave of the genre and now people don't like these movies and so they associate Deadpool as lame superhero movie and they don't want to see it? And I think we're going to find that out.
Here is the difference.
Mhm.
When you look at those movies you mentioned other than Guardians,
Mhm.
Batman, refillable. Spider-Man, refillable. Joker, refillable.
Yeah.
Deadpool, not refillable. Guardians, not refillable. You are not recasting Star-Lord. That is not happening. You are
Right,
not
right.
recasting Groot. You're not recasting Rocket Raccoon. You can recast Batman, you can recast Spider-Man, you can recast Joker, and they win Oscars.
Right.
2 different
2
people have
Oscars.
won Oscars for
Yeah.
Joker, and that's just now. I
Yeah.
mean, if you multiply that by the years and years, I mean, Joker will be the most acclaimed character of all time when
Yes.
everything is said and done.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's bigger than Macbeth. Yeah.
Deadpool, as much as I give Ryan Reynolds flack, Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds the same way Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man is not refillable. Captain America is not refillable. Thor is not refillable. All of these sort of movies that are going to fail in the future and the ones that have already started failing, these are characters that nobody cares about anymore and they're not refillable. So the question here is, can Ryan Reynolds squeeze one more movie out of this character? That is the big question. And
Yeah.
it seems like everybody disagrees with me that they're saying he can, and I say he can't.
Yeah. I think the thing is, it's a disagreement in the sense that if you look at the slate for this year, you would just think Deadpool should end up being one of the top 5 movies of the year. It's like Dune, Inside Out, a couple other ones, but Deadpool, based on its track record, should be a, you know, 300 plus million domestic, 7 to $800 million worldwide type movie. And that's the bar. I don't think I do think it will be less than the other two. I don't know what Wolverine adds because I'm looking at the Wolverine franchise. Logan was the high watermark at 600 million worldwide. But you look at the other two standalone Wolverine movies, domestically 179 for Origins and 132 for The Wolverine. It's a value add, but in a way, I think we're overestimating just how much the addition of Wolverine would juice the Deadpool franchise. I think
Mhm.
it's a for sure a value add, and it was a great
Yeah,
move to
I won't
make that
disagree
be
with
the
that.
third one. Um, but I don't think this is a move that makes Deadpool 3 make more money than the other ones.
No.
But you kind of think it's gonna bomb, but I think bombing still is like it's a movie that's gonna open to $100 million.
Oh, I don't think so, no.
Okay,
Because,
interesting.
again, this was the year where the sequel to Aquaman, A Billion Dollar Baby, did not even break 500 million worldwide, right? Or maybe it did, right now, but still, it did less than half of the
Yeah,
first one.
but yeah,
Marvel's Miss Marvel,
the
was
Marvels,
the Marvels, but the original one,
Captain Marvel,
Captain Marvel, my apologies, uh, Captain Marvel, Billion Dollar Baby, this Marvel's, not a $1 billion baby, okay?
right,
So,
right,
we are seeing this go down, and the quality of these Deadpool movies, the first one, I agree, we were talking about it the other night. The first one was not a good movie. The second one was a better movie.
hmm
This third one had strike reshoots. This movie's not even completed. Like, they are doing the looping of all the jokes right now. So
right,
this
right,
movie is still in progress. This could be a terrible movie, which
right.
would make a difference.
Right. Right now, Patton Oswalt is in a room writing ADR jokes for Deadpool 3. And take that how you will, but that
Yeah.
is almost definitely happening at the moment.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, so I do think, listen, when we say bomb, I mean, obviously, is this thing gonna make is this gonna make under 100 domestic?
it can't. It's gonna
Well,
open. I
no,
think,
but that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. I
yeah,
don't think so.
right.
But for the budget and for what the other movies did, this movie is going to severely underperform.
Okay.
Yes. And in that estimation, it is a bomb. Now, what have we always said, and I've especially said this, is that unlike the sports talk radio and other
Mhm,
pundits, I would be nothing but happy if I was wrong,
mhm,
because the health of the box office is important to society and
mhm.
culture and to our way of life and to our bottom line.
Yeah,
So
our
there's no
show.
reason for me to root for bombs,
Mhm,
because that would then denigrate what we do and make it harder for us to get people to listen, because if every movie's a bomb, then nobody wants to hear about it.
mhm,
So I would be happy to be wrong here. Unfortunately, I will not be wrong.
mhm. Um, and you know what? I'll let what Mike said about Twister stand alone because it's a long episode, but he thinks that the disaster movie is not what people want now. Um, I'm high on this. Could be
I am too.
nostalgia for me. It could, who knows? But I think that, but I think we're gonna get to more of Twisters as we get closer because that's gonna
A-
be a big thing to cover.
And just to speak a little bit on that, is that I totally agree with all that, is that we've seen everything be destroyed in the last, 15 years. That is such a great point. But
Right.
also, we are moving back into wanting to see stars, and we wanna see Glenn Powell chasing tornadoes. And I think the special effects are secondary to wanting to see a hot, youngish actor go through these motions. That's my hope with Twisters, is that it's not gonna be about the Twisters. It's gonna be about who's chasing the Twisters.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if that's the case, then that is a great, move in the direction of things being about stars and not being about IP and special effects.
Clayton, it's time to read the last email.
Oh,
So
yeah.
these were all great emails, but this may be one of the greatest we've ever gotten. So here it
And
is.
can you, yeah, please read it, and please read it with the way you read it to me
Yes.
at BOHQ. Really take your time on this one,
Yeah.
Pat. Don't try and do any shortcuts. Really tell
All
a
right.
story.
So we're going to make a meal of this email. So this is from Javier. Subject is box office talent show. Dear BO Boys, my name's Javier, and I've been listening to the show for a good while now, and I am a big fan. First started getting into it thanks to Scott Mendelson, the man who really got me into box office, his appearances, and I look forward to each and every episode. Now, I'm sending this email because I wanted to share a fun story related to box office and just how important it is what you guys are doing. I'm currently a freshman in college, and just recently there was a talent show for a charity hosted by the sororities. I decided to participate and do something related to box office. What I did was I went up on stage and asked audience members to raise their hands, and when I picked on them, they would say a movie. I would then go on to say what that movie on its opening weekend and globally. The information was on a giant screen right behind me, so everyone could see if I was right or not. I was dead on with the opening weekends and domestic totals, while globally I was in the right range. Was not sure how people would react, but I'm happy to say that they went absolutely wild and loved every second of it. After the show, I had a lot of people asking me how I knew all of this and how box office works, and I mentioned how I got into it, as well as the people who inspired me, as you guys. I'm telling you this because this showed me that people are interested in this stuff. And it is important what people like you and Scott Mendelson do to make box office into a bigger part of the mainstream conversation, which is so important as it plays a huge role in how the film industry functions. Thank you guys for what you do, and please keep doing what you do, Javier.
I mean, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
heard it once before,
Yeah.
and still it gives me chills. It gives me a rush. It makes my heart grow 10
Yeah.
times bigger. And
Yeah.
that this wannabe oh boy
Mhm.
was so brave to go
Mhm.
out on that stage and do that. The amount of bravery to go and share that thing you love and also
Mhm.
your talent, and to have that response. I mean, that must have been an amazing night, and it made for an amazing email.
Yeah. Yeah, the I mean, first of all, we talk about this a lot when we talk about our interns, wanna be senior intern Christopher, wanna be junior intern Jack running the Substack, and how they, you know, uncertain times these days, people are worried about this and that, but they make us feel secure in the future
Mhm.
that you've got these kids who are fascinated by box office, learning about box office, fighting for box office. You got Javier out there in front of this was an event, a charity event put on, he said, by the sororities. There is, if you are a college student, is there a higher stakes platform than going out on a stage at a sororities charity event? And he went out on that stage and he put it all on the line about box office.
Ah,
I mean, that makes me feel like no matter what you hear on the news, things are going to be okay because you got
Yeah.
Javier out there at a sorority charity event, and he's going out there blind, not guessing because he knows,
He knows,
showing
but yeah.
going out there, putting it all on the line. And listen, there could be he might know these opening weekends. He studied them for years, but you go out there and the lights are bright and the sorority sisters are collecting those raffle tickets around you, and it all could have went blank. And it didn't happen for Javier. He nailed it. And the fact that to hear that these college kids were rushing him afterwards, coming up to him, asking him about box office. How did you know that? Who taught you this?
Man,
Uh, it's incredible, and again, it makes me so excited for the future of box office when you
I
have your
agree.
Javier's out there joining your senior intern Christopher and your wannabe junior intern Jack. They're going out into the world.
It makes you feel like a proud papa, doesn't it?
Yep. 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 And of course, listen, we all have to like Javier did, thank Big Daddy himself, thank our tribal chief, throw ones up and acknowledge Scott Mendelson because he's the one who begets all of this.
Mhm.
Um, very excited. Clayton, I'll say this, here's a tease. Hearing Javier talk about going on stage and talking about box office on stage in front of a crowd makes me think the BO Boys live on a stage. I just have that vision.
Okay.
And this might be the year that
Yep.
has to happen.
Mhm. And I
So,
think we might, know what our opening act could be.
I mean, Javier, he didn't say what college he's in, where he is, but he may need to find his way to the BO Boys live on stage, which could happen, should happen, will happen 2024.
2024?
So, I think it's time for cities to get their bids ready.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, but very inspirational for the future, and I think for something that we've been meaning to do for a while, and I think we have to do. I think we
Yes.
have to
Yeah.
do it.
Very inspiring. I mean, Javier's just inspiring people left and right.
Yeah. So email us, theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. What an incredible viewer mail segment this was. So email us, theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. We love getting your emails, obviously.
Yes.
So predictions, theories, praise, boots on the ground reporting. We got it all today. So send us more emails. Of course, follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod. Want to be our senior intern Christopher, killing it with the vertical clips on Twitter X and TikTok. He's also killing it with the YouTube channel. We are YouTubers. If you're just listening to this episode and not watching us on YouTube, you have not been staring at Clayton's dark shades this entire episode, so
I'm
you've
cool
missed
now.
out. Very cool. So follow us, subscribe on the YouTube channel. Full episodes, clips, web exclusives. The only place for all that is the BO Boys YouTube channel. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, of course. And Clayton, I think we've done it.
Well, Pat,
Oh, and the Substack, of course. And the Substack. Jack is back on the Substack. So subscribe to the BO Boys Substack. And that's got to be it.
Pat, I hate to break it to you, but we got so excited about the opening, the mailbag, and reading the mailbag is we never gave our numbers.
Oh my. All right,
So
we got to
that
deliver on this tease.
we
Let's
gotta
just do
deliver
it.
on that
Let's just
tease.
do it. What an episode this is. My God. All right, Clayton, do you want to go first? I mean, what are we doing here? Do you want to give your predictions for this 5-day weekend?
Yeah, so I think let's do because I think the most important thing here is what are the Bob Marley One Love numbers and the Madam Web numbers? I don't think we have to do a top 5. I do
Okay.
think we do have to just say what's number 1, what's it making in the 5-day? That's what we should do.
Okay. So let's do it. I'll go first. Yeah, number 1, Bob Marley, and I think it's going to do 40 million in the 5-day. Number 2, Madam Web, and I think it's going to in the 5-day make 18 million. I think this is Blue Beetle level. This is really nadir superhero stuff. I'm gonna just give a top 5 without other numbers because I
Okay.
think number 3, I think I'm just gonna go for it. Anyone But You is gonna jump all the way up this
The porno
weekend.
cut?
The porno cut. It's got the 5 extra minutes. It's got the
I keep saying
Valentine's
4.
Day
Is it
bump.
5? It's 5.
It maybe 5, but I think it's number 3, the box office this weekend. I think number 4 is Beekeeper, and number 5 is Wonka. I think Lisa Frankenstein and Argyle are just gonna drop like stones out of the top 5. So
My
there you go.
goodness. Okay, so here we go. I am now on the Bob Marley train. I've been
Mhm.
convinced. I think, though, I'm lower on this one. I think 5 Day,
Okay.
$33 million, and then Madam Web 5 Day. Yeah, let's go. God, does this make 20? Dude, does this make 20? Let's go 21
Okay.
5 Day on this one.
Okay. Do you think Anyone But You could get to number 3 in the top 5, or it'll do well on Wednesday, but then that's it?
Yeah, I think that I don't see that happening.
Okay.
I'd love it though. Again, I'd love to be wrong.
Yeah. All right. So that is it, Clayton. We have nothing else to say. Nothing.
No, definitely not. Nothing
Nothing.
except for until next time. We'll
Will
smell
smell you
you
at
at the
the box
box
office.
office. Nailed it.
Nailed it.